Everyone, today we have a new guest on. He is Pancake Analytics. I've been trying to get him on for quite a while. Pancake, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, great. We can make this work out. I know most of the delays are always on my end. So,
Oh yeah, no worries. You know, it's good to have you on. You're one of the more rational people in the hobby, and as we can see for the past 8 months, it's all full of craziness, in my
yeah, like,
opinion. I don't know if you see it the same way as me.
yeah, very crazy. Rationality is a virtue now, apparently, in the hobby. It used to be
Exactly.
only patience, but now
Yeah,
rationality is hard to come by.
exactly. So, a little bit about yourself. So, for people that don't know who you are and what you do, just give a brief background, and also, what do you like to collect?
Yeah. So, first, the professional background, and I think it's relevant to what I also do on Instagram. But 10 plus years in analytics, data science. Currently, I lead a decision sciences team for a loyalty marketing firm. And pretty much our goal is just to get people to spend more money. Clients are high retailers. I can't mention them, but pretty big telecom companies as well. Um, Theaters, movie theaters, the biggest one out there. So kind of a pretty boring number statistical job. So to make it a little bit more fun for myself, I do more numbers, but with what I love. So Comic Cons, I've been going to Comic Con since early teens. I used to actually go to around your neck of the woods in Chicago, Wizard World was
Okay.
one of the first ones we used to go to. I'm local to Florida, so we go to MegaCon, some of the larger ones. But it started as like statistically, can we answer like who wins in a fight, Batman or Superman? All like the fun, like nerdy questions you'd have at a Comic Con. And then pandemic hit. you know, for the majority, everybody was stuck at home. That's when trading cards also blew up. I happened to collect. And then I really noticed some of the, and I don't want to talk too much down to it, but just the lack of like really strong analytics out there. Mostly all you would see is like a percent difference or a record sale. I mean, you still see like the record sales get like the most attention, but I thought I could help out there with some advanced models, at least like clear out some of the noise. Collecting wise, it was Pokemon at first, TCG, and then I switched more to non sports now. There is a little bit of sports in there, right? Because like most collectors, you have like an investing side. The weird part about collecting, at least how I see it, is like at some point you're not collecting for yourself, right? So I
Right.
don't want like my kids, if they want to get into it, be stuck with just, oh, great. Thanks for all these SpongeBob cards. Or, like, why couldn't you have PC LeBron for me, Dad? Stuff like that. So I try to diversify that way.
Okay. Yeah, I see that you always post like New York Knicks, Allen Houston cards.
Yeah.
And it was that your favorite player growing up?
So I really like Houston and Spree. So like that was like the heart of watching the Knicks for me.
Okay.
I come from a pretty large Italian family. We grew up in Brooklyn. I remember when we came from the eighth seed, like the lockout year, so you could put like a giant asterisk with it.
Right.
But it was like a
Right.
really fun season to watch. Like obviously we had no shot at the Spurs, but it was like really influential for me. Ewing was injured as well, and so
Okay.
a lot of fun there. And obviously, always getting beat by the Bulls is
Oh yeah.
ingrained in my memory.
Yeah, I can't believe my childhood was amazing. I mean, you're never gonna see that in Chicago again. We had Derrick Rose, and then Derrick Rose,
Yeah,
what, he
yeah,
tore his ACL, or not ACL, he blew out his knee, what, 3 times, 4 times?
yeah.
And now he's with, I think, the Knicks, right? Or no, in Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit now. But
Yeah.
what's really interesting about that is like my own bias came into collecting there too. It's like I wouldn't collect Jordan, which was an awful decision to do. But it's like, no, he, was the villain of my childhood, the hero of yours.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Same thing like
Exactly.
football wise. I'm a Jets fan. Diehard Jets fan. So I never collected Brady. It's just like if you want to know what not to do, you can talk to me.
All right, let's take a look at some comments before we get into some of the topics I want to get into. Brendan Ryan, is that a Freddy Krueger glove in the case in the back or an Infinity Gauntlet?
Yeah, so that's an Infinity Gauntlet. It's the Marvel Legends series. What you can't really make out is surrounding it are these achievements that you could get through Upper Deck EPAC as a man, and this is really geeky, but a manufactured infinity gem in there. So just like fake type of diamonds in there, only 25 of each. But that was like the centerpiece of my office space here. So really glad that someone called it out. But Freddy Krueger would have been awesome too.
Okay. All right. Dan the Card Man, what's going on? A great channel. Oh yeah, I forget. It's morning in Australia.
Yeah, Dan's one of the channels I catch up on a lot.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have to check his channel out.
yeah.
And he says, "Cheers, mate! Sensational performance last night. Got my tickets sorted for next Sunday. Can't wait." I'm assuming it's a. What sport are you talking about? I don't want to assume here. I'm not too much. I don't know too much about Australian sports. I know you guys like cricket, soccer, rugby. I think maybe you watch foot. I mean, some basketball. Anyways, and Brandon Ryan says, "Oh, that's sick."
Good.
All
Good.
right. I think we should get started on some topics. But so this past week, people have said, "Okay, I've covered this over and over again," but I think that we should at least discuss it.
Yeah.
So Staingate, right? Every channel, not every channel, a lot of big channels have covered this. I'll just briefly touch base on it, and I want to hear your opinion. So as we know, that a Herbert card sold for $1.1 million. Kurt's Card Care showed a picture of how there was maybe a stain or whatever it was, and then he showed an after pic, which he helped remove from all that was said. And then the mainstream media said that, hey, it was Dan, not Dan. Kurt was quoted as, "Hey, this is a fingerprint," but his IG, no, it was actually a stain based on the comments that I saw on his IG. So, what are your thoughts on all this? I just summarized just a brief synopsis of what I've been talking about for the past week, maybe. But what are your thoughts about all this?
Yeah. What's interesting to me is a lot of people make like the comparison to like art and restoration of art. And I think maybe there's a portion of that that could apply to like vintage cards. But in the case of the Herbert, like this isn't restoring it per se. It's a ultra modern card. I mean, we don't know the origin of the stain, right? But
Right.
I mean, sorry if I'm spilling some coffee on one of my cards, I'm not going to go through let me try and like clean it up. But I think what's really interesting about this story is like it's really bringing into life of something that I think kind of everybody knew was already out there.
Right.
There's companies that you can get a polish on, you can get your card altered, which is weird. It's like accepted in like the comics community, right? Like getting your comics pressed and you'll get a different grade attached to it, calling it out. But sometimes with cards, it's the fun of like the challenge of getting like a gem mint card. Like if you grade, I personally feel there's some cards that there's no point in grading, but
Right.
some people still do. But it's like, from pack open to whether like you're taking the gamble buying on eBay or
Right.
whatever auction house of your preference. It takes that out of it. If it's like, okay, now I'm going to go to another company and clear it all out for me. But I, for one, think it's altered. If we're looking for like what's my position on it, really
Hmm.
like any type of cleaning as well. I think you had that conversation with Nat, right? Where he
Yeah,
said
text
sometimes
message,
like graders will wipe away fingerprints. And so if
dust
graders are
debris. Yeah.
doing it, like as long as you have a good eye and that's what you're going to do, like just sorry, take the 7. It's part of
Yeah.
the gamble.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'd say. I mean,
Yeah.
it ruins the fun out of me for myself. I don't
Yeah.
want to wipe the card itself.
Yeah.
And maybe if it's already in a top loader, dust off the take off the dust off the top loader if I'm selling it to someone. Okay, that's what I do. But on the card itself, no, I don't mess with that at
Yeah.
all because it's just the element of surprise when I send it to a grading company. And then I looked at a bunch of cars that I have. I'm like, hey, am I going to send this off to grading? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. That's how I operate.
Yeah.
But it's just quite interesting that a lot of people seem to have been annoyed with me, but they're not annoyed at the process because I've been given information where there are people that are actually doctoring cards like in the thousands, sending them to auction houses. And then, people are getting away with it. So I'm just thinking, okay, I've been giving that intel. I think I sent that to you
Yeah.
at a big auction house. I'm just thinking what else goes on behind the scene if people are just rubbing down their cards with chemicals. It's all out in the open. I'm just thinking what type of fraud is happening out there.
Just coloration. I mean, I think the reason people get upset with you like bringing that to light or not, stop beating the dead horse is they're trying to justify their own actions, right?
Yeah.
They might have like, there's tiny versions of alteration that they can probably do without going to a company. And then it's like, oh wait, now they kind of feel bad if all of a sudden everybody thinks this is the wrong thing to do.
Right.
I mean, think about like, old school, like, oh, if your card's like dented, let me try to stack it. Like, I bought a card off of eBay, and the guy, I guess, also makes like some type of product. It's like this little PVC type of glass that you can put on cards, and they gave like this long letter to me. I don't use it, but it
Oh,
claims
okay.
that, oh, it can get out any dent or any fold. Just keep it there for a couple of hours, and it's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's interesting. I'm just wondering what's the long-term effects of any of these chemical use? Maybe nothing at all. But
coloration, right? I
yeah,
mean, just think about, if you leave your cards out in the sun or direct light, you know, same thing that happens to artwork. What
that's
are
true.
these might not necessarily need direct light for that to happen.
That's
You
true.
know,
Good
your
point.
card gets decolorized over the years. You're going to think you bought something that's fake.
Oh yeah, just imagine maybe 10, 15 years from now, people are saying that, "Hey, you sold me a fake. Look at the color of it." But then it's actually a real card, but someone used chemicals on it. I just wonder how many of those cases are going to come out.
Yeah,
And then people are going to be like, "Hey, PSA slabbed a card that's altered." Like I don't know if we're going to see that in the future, but I don't know like some of the older cards or in a older PSA holder, I see the coloring seems to be a bit off,
yeah.
but I don't know. I don't want to make these generalized assumptions, but
Part
just
of the
based on what I've
charm, right?
what?
Part of the charm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's look at some comments. One time says, I thought everyone used microfiber cloth before sending to get graded. I don't use it because I'm clumsy, so I don't want to mess up the card even more.
Yeah, I've been
But
given the advice to use it, but same thing as you. I don't trust my own hands. I mean,
Yeah.
I never film my pack openings either. And it's just because I'm worried, like, oh, great, I'm going to drop the card or.
Yeah, I'm gonna mess up some way, shape, or form, so it's better if I just leave it in the sleeve in the top loader. That's
Yeah.
how I do it. One time says, I'm not talking chemicals or anything. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. This is what Nat Turner told me
Yeah.
as well. Microfiber cloth is fine because the graders use
Yeah.
it. Baker Boy says, micro cloth still scratches chrome surfaces. Could be, but then some people are going to go to some of these companies that sell these chemical solutions, natural products, whatever, to wipe down the scratches on the chrome. So,
Yeah.
all right, 5-star collectibles. When a coin has been altered, it doesn't get a numerical grade. It gets labeled details, gem mint details, mint detail, NM details. Maybe card graders should do that if they can spot altered cards. So I want to point this out. I don't know if you saw Neo's video this morning.
I didn't catch it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was just
Yeah.
basically saying how outrageous it was for people like me questioning, or calling this out. He didn't mention me by name on purpose.
No one ever
Well, no,
does.
they're not going to after some of the videos they've seen of me. Obviously, they don't want smoke anymore.
Yeah.
But I invited him to do a live stream. He's always invited, but he wasn't interested. But I made reference on his channel that, hey, look, in the card world, you can't do this. And PSA owns PCGS, I think one of the best grading companies for coins.
Yeah.
And like 5-star collectibles was saying, it's going to be graded, but it's just going to be stated that, okay, this is authentic and basically altered. They're not going to get a numerical grade like he stated. So I'm coming from the coin world. I like bullion. I like gold, silver, etc. So for me, I look at it much different than, some of the comic book people. I don't know if
I agree with, giving it the alteration detail. I think probably in our hobby, people would want an explanation first. Like, say the scenario where you bought an altered card, not knowing it was altered.
no.
Yeah, I'd probably, shake my fist at Nat Turner if it came back as altered.
Well, just imagine if Nat Turner said that, okay, you can't use chemicals, then you got to look at some of the big players in this industry. So I showed a picture, and it appeared that Jeff Wilson, I think, was promoting a product of Mr. Minty or something like that. I think I sent you a picture.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Minty has card polish, if you call it that. So if Nat Turner says you can't use chemical solutions, etc., you have some of the big players at one point promoting these products. So I think that would open up a huge can of worms. I mean, Jeff Wilson did say that, hey, it's a gray area. And Nat Turner said it's a gray area. So all of them are going to say it's a gray area because you're going to let open Pandora's box, in my opinion. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But all right, let's go through some other comments. Trading cards immortal. Wiping a card down with the cloth, fit dust, and particles is fine. Chemicals might be something else. Might affect the card in the long run. Yes, exactly. This is what we talked about a little earlier. Dan, the card man, so many people defend the cleaning services and edge repair, but won't disclose when they use it for cards they sold. Wonder why. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure a bunch of them during the last few years have used it and probably have made a killing. Maybe not the last, 6 to 8 months, unless you were pumping Star Wars, which we'll get into a little later on in this podcast. C&T Collectibles, what's going on? I bet Moises Alou has an interesting way to sterilize cards. Do you know what Moises Alou used to do when he was playing?
What did he used to do?
He used to piss on his hands to get a better grip on the bat.
Good way to sterilize it.
Yeah, exactly. This is a good one. What's the difference in renovating a home and restoring a card? When you buy a home, you don't know everything the previous owner did to restore the home. What would you say?
So I thought this was interesting to bring up, but I would isn't most of that disclosed, right? That's usually the selling point for a home. Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean, you have to do an
or
inspection.
it's on you to ask it as well.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to ask questions. You have to
yeah,
inspect. You have an inspector. I
yeah,
mean, we had an inspector, and then he said the roof sucked, and then we canceled the contract, and then they were desperate to sell. Then they gave us a $7,000 discount on the roof. I mean, yeah, there's repairs in all houses, but yeah, I mean, you have to do your due diligence, and sometimes they don't say anything, maybe because they don't know, or their inspector had no idea. So
yeah,
that's how I look at it. And the house is not a collectible. So that's
yeah.
the other
I was gonna
difference.
say not 100% apples to apples, and the process is much different. But
Yeah. That's what I
I
told.
like it better than gray area argument, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I told Neo in the comments
Yeah,
section. A car, I'm not talking about card, a car,
yeah,
because he used a used car as an example. Well, a car you drive, first of all, and a car usually is not a collectible. So
yeah.
then he says, oh, well, some people do use cars as collectibles, but at the same time, you drive that car. So it's already used. So that's the assumption.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to restore or alter your card to make it function, though,
Yeah.
right?
Charles, what's up, boys? Yes, I use car polish on all my cards. Do you disclose it when you sell it on Golden? Did you use it on your PMGs on Golden, man?
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure I want your Spider Gwens, Charles.
Yeah, maybe I won't be buying from you. All right. Trading cards immortal. I know that SGC has a process where they can use an X-ray like scanner to see if the card has any damage or cracks. I'm pretty sure all of these companies do.
Yeah, I
I don't
thought
know if they.
I think they have a process to where they can see like the layers and underneath it. One grading company disclosed their whole process,
Do you know
but
which one it was?
I don't remember. But what's in my head is I didn't agree with their grading scale.
Oh,
I
okay.
think like their algorithm was wrong. Like some of the grades like looked like it was mathematically impossible to get to because they were throwing
Okay.
like bonus points too. But it was cool they showed like the black light and so
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah.
I gotta check that out. Charles says SGC slabs automatically damages cards. Laugh out loud. So there's this one time I showed this one Federer card. It's a rare 2001 card of his.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe 10 of them graded. I swear that SGC damaged part of that card because I thought, hey, this is going to be at least a SGC 8 or 9, maybe 10. But I didn't take pictures before and afterwards, so I can't go to them saying, hey, you damaged my card. But, you know, but now there's what, Nadal and Joker. So Federer's not even top
Yeah.
tennis player anymore. So I don't think it matters. Baker boy, you can't repair cardboard. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good one.
Shiny cardboard.
PWCC logic. If your wife cheats on you and you don't notice it, it's not cheating. Is anyone married at PWC? Oh, I could open up a whole can of worms about PWCC, but there are some people that have them as sponsors, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, PWCC is interesting. Um, I don't know if you remember. I think it was like a couple of months back. We had a conversation about it in the chat. There was a Luke Skywalker that hit on
Oh
PWCC
yeah, that's right.
and
That's
then eBay at the same time. And PWCC was like very like engaged with me getting it off of eBay. But then all of a sudden they also took it off of PWCC and wouldn't answer me. Like why they took it down.
yeah. Goldberg, he actually sent me a DM, said, should I take it? Should we take it down? Or like, should PWCC take it down because
Yeah,
his show is sponsored by them, so he
yeah,
has a relationship with them and he knows people. And I don't think they should have taken it down. Maybe
yeah,
they relisted it, but it was all found out. I took down the video talking about this because it looked like the eBay account was hacked.
yeah. I mean, they left me on red, and it was like a question I asked them. All they had to say was like, "No, we can't." I just
Yeah,
asked them like, "Hey, can you disclose why you took it down?" They just
yeah,
decided, ignore.
ignore. Yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's transition from this topic. It's one of my favorite topics that I've talked about over and over again. So, pump and dumps, and you followed the space more closely than I do.
Yeah.
Marvel, PMGs, we've had Star Wars, etc. So, were they actual pump and dumps, or do you think funds were involved? Because Marvelous Pack sent me a message saying that, hey, I'm pretty confident there are funds involved in this, and there could potentially be influencers getting on the take and trying to just dump all these cards on behalf of them, or they're getting paid to run this pump and dump scheme.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there was a pump and dump, and I like to say like I accidentally stumbled upon it.
Okay.
Everyone like listening can make
How
their own
so?
decision for that. But when I research, what I want to collect next, like there's a few checkpoints I do. I go into eBay and I look for like, okay, are sealed boxes being sold? Then I check pop reports, like, okay, are people actually grading and collecting things? And so far, everything that I passionate about collecting has gone through this weird like hype and pump and dump cycle. Star Wars I was watching for a while, collecting, buying, and then that was probably the most obvious pump and dump from my point of view. Like if you ever have collected Star Wars, you would not recommend it to anyone. Like it is what I like to joke, it's low low risk, low reward. Like some of the actors autos in that are just rough. Marvel, I won't even analyze PMGs. I put that in my big. I did an impact incremental analysis on if the MCU is driving uh, card sales. Spoiler alert: it's not. It's like insignificant amount. But I also addressed PMGs because when I was doing that analysis, I noticed there was a big spike in like November, and when I looked into it, it was Marvel PMGs was driving it. And to me, that was just an outlier in data. And so I had to do a little write up just to keep myself at bay of like why I'm not going to touch this time period or these cards. Because in my head, at first, they're serial numbered. So there's no point in tracking the sales analytically, right? Like you're not going to track I think the greens are numbered to 10. Like you're not going to track 10 cards over time and try to predict or be prescriptive for anyone. But then, that just got me to like interacting with IG more, the trading card community, and noticing like, oh, this person has some cool cards, pretty rare. And it's always the same cycle where it's so glad to add this to my PC. And then the time period could either be like a week or a month, and all of a sudden it's up for sale. And then you see it like, oh, going to grading, can't wait to have it back. And then there's always the inevitable, so sad to let it go. So hard to let go of my baby. And then there's usually people in the comments who are brave enough to be like, what? I thought you PC'd Captain America. Or what? You were so excited to get this. It's offer they can't refuse, right?
Yeah.
After they do reels and videos and content on why to collect it.
Yeah, people were losing their minds when I was saying that, hey, Marvel PMGs, pump and dumps,
Yeah.
Star Wars pump and dump. Some
Yeah.
influencers were coming after me. I'm like, you talk trash about me before, and then now you're getting
Yeah.
mad when I'm just saying
Yeah.
it in a bland way.
The
I
Star
don't know.
Wars pump and dump actually made it to one of my Comic Con panels. So I do a Marvel trading card panel now. I introduced that to show the MCU impact and forecasting, how you can use eBay Terapeak data out
Yeah,
there. Um, in the Q&A section, somebody said to me, "I don't know who the person is, but I saw a reel for this card with 7 Jedi on it. Would you purchase this card? Should I be purchasing that card?" And said, general rule of thumb, like don't purchase something you see in a reel.
right, right.
That's awful ideas, but I got to go on a tangent in that Q&A that everyone got a kick out of. But because I feel there's more like real Star Wars collectibles out there besides something that's going to be overprinted and you know,
Yeah. I remember talking about, hey, what these guys were hyping up,
you know,
it had no intrinsic value. It was what all these modern Star Wars cards. And what seemed really strange is all these influencers came out at the same time saying Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. I discussed this with you. I'm like,
yeah,
wait, this seems really strange. Like, are they getting kickbacks, or are they just like, hey, we're just like little kids and let's just
yeah.
follow what everyone's doing? I mean, that could be the non-conspiratorial thing out there.
Yeah, I
It
mean, a
just
lot
isn't.
of times it's the price point too, and
Yeah,
they have like their own, checklist in their head, like a checklist I have when I go into collecting into a new area. They might be saying like, okay, here's my cost basis. Are they still producing modern sets? Oh, is there a TV show? Is there a movie? Does it have some
yeah,
90s
that's
type
true.
following to it?
Yeah, then that could have been the case.
And my biggest complaint about the Star Wars pump too is like you cannot fake that you're a Star Wars fan. Like that is impossible to do. Like I'm glad they didn't pump Star Trek because I feel like Star Trek is more hardcore fans, right?
Yeah,
Because they're not spread out so much. You don't have the Disney parks, and it's not as mainstream. But just you can't fake geekiness. You'll get called out on it pretty soon.
yeah. I think the most outrageous thing about that Star Wars thing was that, hey, is this Star Wars card going to go to $100,000? That was like, what on earth is going on? This is my Grail card, and you sell your Grail card in what, a
I just
month or two, and then you'll be like, oh, nice Grail, and I'm gonna flip it to another guy,
they're
and then
just
I'm gonna say
speaking.
this is is it? Ask the question, is this $100,000 card? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Just I mean, a lot of that happens in the Pokemon space too.
Yeah,
Like that area is very toxic. Like you'll see like reels and videos about like, believe it or not, this Charizard will be $2 million by December.
oh yeah, remember in March of 2021, Sasha T had that one card that everyone was like really excited about. But I
Yeah,
think Sasha T got rid of it really quickly. I don't know the exact story. But then like all his buddies, and then what, Card Kahuna was in that too, right?
yeah,
And then Card Kahuna was like, yeah, bro, this is gonna be $1 million, it's gonna double. I'm like, something just seemed off to me there.
yeah. I
Everyone was
actually
jumping up and down. I'm like, nah.
I ran into Card Kahuna at a convention in Tampa. It was
When
a Collecta. I don't think it not Collecticon. It was like Collectors Con, the one that like him and Mealy Pops were running.
oh, okay,
So
okay.
Mealy Pops is, he's like 2 hours away from me. He's in Gainesville. Never been to his shop or anything. And this was before the whole case thing. I think they did their like video to hype it up. It was like
Yeah.
before the Shine sale though.
Yeah.
So I did buy one card from Mealy Pops. And I do feel dirty about it, but it was for my daughter. It was a jambalaya of Spider Gwen, and he had it at a reasonable price because I don't think he knows who that character is. But just that experience was so weird. because it was my first time dealing at a trade show
Right.
with cameras everywhere. I think Jeff Wilson was there. Don Diego Trading was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a weird experience. I had my daughter with me and and one of my brothers, and we were just walking around and just trying to find the deals. But like Mealy didn't even say anything to me, didn't look at me, and he's like the head of his table. He's got camera crews with him filming him, and
Yeah.
so I'd buy the card from someone else. And when the transaction's happening, he looks at the bag, and I think like he's gonna see like, oh, to try and talk about what I bought, and he just yells at his guy like, make sure he gets a sticker. Everyone gets a sticker, and it's like this weird like prism sticker that's his Instagram handle.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Got
oh, this is awful. But
Yeah, I just wonder if I go to a show, like if someone's just gonna like try to stab me or something like that. And that's some of the comment sections.
well,
I just
sometimes I get not DMs of like, "Hey, I'm gonna stab you," like
Yeah.
DMs from people saying like, "I'm really concerned about you like announcing you're going to a show." It's like,
But like
why? Why
you're
not?
not you're not as vocal as I am. You don't do like YouTube videos. Like you don't have like
Yeah, like
influencers coming after you. Like
the
I don't think
worst
your
I'll do
content.
is a meme.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, your stuff. I can see how you would
I,
tick someone off.
yeah, I ticked off who was it? Market movers with a meme.
Oh yeah, well, with your analysis.
Yeah, yeah, that led to a Zoom meeting and some preaching about if my son would be happy if I told him I made a meme today.
All right, let's look at
Yeah,
some comments here. Marvelous Packs, what's going on? I think, by the way, he suggested we three should do a live stream sometime in
yeah,
the future. I know your
yeah,
schedule is hectic, but
yeah,
if you're up for it.
yeah. Victor's great. He is my buddy in Disney collecting, like actually collecting it.
Okay. Charles, it's funny. The whole card market was pumped and dumped. Sports, pop culture, everything laugh out loud. You could say the same thing for crypto, stock
Yeah,
market. The Federal Reserve pumped up money supply. Now they're raising interest rates. So yeah, a lot of things were pump and dumps.
yeah. The only thing I tried to jokingly pump was Pogs.
Pogs.
Like I did videos of like here's like the eBay sales because I know everyone's sitting on Pogs. Just try to give everyone a bone.
Trading Cards Immortal. Marvel is the flavor of the month. Same thing with F1. That was also the same thing. WWE came and went. Now that football is here and basketball is approaching. Yeah, it was a crazy year. So people are just going to weird stuff. Like what? It was
Yeah,
Marvel PMGs. Don't be negative. If you're negative, you're bad for the hobby. I remember all of that. Then F1. I thought that was pumped and dumped, but some people said no, they're really into that. Like, okay, WWE, okay, yeah, that was shady all around. But
yeah.
yeah, let's look at some other comments. Okay,
Very
this
seasonal craziness we had.
exactly. How can you ever talk about pump and dump when you knew there was a Disney pump ongoing and you participate in the dump by selling off some of your Disney cards to cash in on the pump? I wasn't getting paid off by anyone, number one. And I sold what, 2 or 3 cards, total of a few $100s. So if you call that a pump and dump, I don't know how to
Yeah,
respond. Pump
yeah.
and
I
dump.
think like the definition of dump is really needs to be clarified sometimes. Like
Yeah.
when I talk about like pumping and dumping, it's like you're going to every card show or you have a really active like eBay store and you actually have a mass load of these cards to dump.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, okay, like let's say you had the Kurosawa card, and then all of a sudden everybody starts talking about it. You might not know where the source is coming from. Like, why wouldn't you sell it if you didn't want that card? Yeah.
Exactly. And I think I messaged you
Yeah.
or you messaged me about Golden selling some Disney cards.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait a second, Disney's getting on it. And then we know some of our favorite people in the hobby are going to jump on the bandwagon. So I'm like, I need to sell some of my Disney cards because, like 1930s Mickey cards, because the hot money may be coming in, and same pattern that you saw for PMGs, F1, WWE. I want to get out and take some profits, and I'll still hold. I think I have a PSA 9 card of a 1930s,
Yeah.
which I want to keep unless I need the money. But that's I didn't sell everything, but I
Yeah.
didn't make a killing with these cards. So, I mean, there are people that made tens of thousands of dollars with PMGs. I think one card sold for $80,000, assuming that card sale was
Legitimate, real, went through. Yeah. Yeah, we are not in that ballpark ever.
Speaking of, so when we see
Yeah.
sales, all-time sales, the hobby says all-time sales. Has that sale been paid for, or should we assume that's paid for, or what? I mean,
A lot
I'm
of it is jumping the gun.
yeah,
Like from an analytics standpoint, like I care more about the mode, so
yeah.
how frequently it's sold. Most recently, or not recently, but the last time I got into it on an all-time sale, I think it was a first edition Charizard sold for like 420K,
Wait, what
and
sold for 420K?
a first edition Charizard
Oh
during
yeah,
a down market.
yeah.
I was one of the biggest naysayers on it, where it's like, no, like that is obviously an outlier. And then the next sale was under 300K, it's like closer to 200K, and it's just all time sales can be manipulated pretty easy. And people will tell you that all I know is that money was exchanged. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like,
Yeah, just like these private sales. Oh yeah, remember that Herbert sale was a private sale? I mean, I
private
saw the
sales.
the
They
IG
did it.
guy show this card, so if you
Like
want to
when
call it
I
altered or not altered, whatever. But
like on private sales, when I first got into like the trading card analytics on the IG side, thinking that there was, really in depth, like I'm going to be talking to other data scientists out there, but then realize it was mostly like collectors trying to, you know, boost their own sales or whatever their motives was. One Pokemon guy in Australia had some pretty questionable like all-time sales or average prices he was sharing. And I would speak to him in like direct message, like, where are you getting this? I can't verify like anything you're showing. He's like, oh, I know the private sales market.
oh, okay. There you go.
They don't do analytics anymore. They ended up blocking me. But
Yeah, I think as P. Ryan was
yeah,
talking about this, and then I think
yeah,
Coach Cohen Cartel. I don't know if you follow them, Cardboard Coaches, but they
yeah,
were talking about that as well. I think I saw Cartel in the comment section down below, but
yeah,
yeah, I don't buy some of these private sales.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
wouldn't
it's
use it.
should I, you know, verify every sale I've ever done with my siblings or trades? Like, no, you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
All right, let's look at a few more comments. Charles, I'm gonna come after you, AIH. Watch your back, bro. I think the more I talk about the fraud in the industry, I'm gonna be a little careful going to some of these shows. Brendan Ryan, they did the PMGs right as they are still making them. The way things are going, PMGs may become a standalone set in the future and not just an insert. Like all the sports cards guys went into it. They're treating it as what the Michael Jordan PMGs from the 90s.
yeah, and the hit rates are so different. Um, I think Upper Deck's starting to change it a little bit for Marvel,
Yeah.
but like the earlier sets, you were guaranteed a serial numbered card. Like I remember my first experience with it was X-Men Metal. And like I never pulled a PMG in my life. And I
Yeah.
pulled some like C rate character.
Okay.
one of the C rate X-Men, and there's a
Okay.
PMG, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then I started doing more research on it, and I was like, oh, like this is the expectation, but
Yep.
still, it's a PMG, I guess.
Yep. Steve Splenda, what's going on? What's up, fella? Sweet Daddy's here. Alrighty. We're gonna have you on again one of these days. Talk about all these conspiracy theories. All right. Baker boy, like G who grabbed the knife and put it to that kid's throat. Yeah, that was messed up. That was ridiculous. That was nuts, man. Like, what's up with the hobby? Why are there so many shady characters? I mean, I followed Precious Metals a decade ago. Charles knows all about that, but
Yeah,
it was it was crazy, but not as crazy as this.
I
I
mean,
didn't expect this.
it's
I don't
just
know.
so much more exposure, right? Like that's what I think if you try to pick one main driver.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, let's keep growing the hobby, keep growing the hobby, everyone says. And
yeah. Don't be negative,
but
guys.
then you put the focus on financials all the time too. Like, what
Yeah,
do you think we're gonna attract?
yeah,
Cutthroat, literal cutthroat behavior.
yeah. And then if you call it out, you get attacked, or you get called what, a conspiracy theorist,
You know.
or you're bad for the hobby. You should be canceled. I think I'm already canceled as it is. So don't speak his name. I think that's what it's going to be. Trading cards immortal. Now they're talking about a global recession. So I find that
Yeah.
quite interesting. So if they're talking about a recession now, whether or not it's going to be a deep one, isn't that a better time to buy than what, February and March, where everyone was jumping up and down? Now I see content creators just more careful in what they're saying. Now I'm like, hey, here's some opportunities. I'm finding cheap cards. They're not like an arm and a leg. I mean, I got a Dwayne Wade card, CSG 9 rookie card for what, $21. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's cheap in my opinion. But who knows? It could go lower.
Maybe they're buying now. They don't want other people to be as reckless as them.
It, exactly. It's Cartel that I was speaking of earlier. Summer of the Gratificator. I think you know who we're talking about.
Great, great, great.
The great one. Who's guy? What's going on? I'm waiting for AIH to call me a pump and dumper. Well, you pump and dump Coos cards, right? That's what your IG handle is all about.
Yeah. You're just like you got to have the dump aspect of it.
Exactly. Charles says a lot of cards in golden PWCC don't even get paid for. Yeah, I wouldn't be
You know,
surprised. I mean, and then I see all these things, card ladder saying record sale, record sale. Are they actually record sales, or like have they been paid for? That's one question that I would like to wonder about.
I mean, what I've noticed recently is like the definition of like record sale now has like a tail end to it that just keeps expanding. Like the
Yeah,
record sale for this card and this insert over the past 3 months. It's like we're
right.
really, pulling at strings here, guys.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
always have to be positive. You know,
Indeed.
yeah.
Indeed. All right. So I wanted to touch base on another topic, and it's also my favorite topic, shill bidding. So once again, I don't know how I get thrown into these conversations. These influencers always like to talk about what I say, even though I have a small channel. Not too many, but they like to talk about my topics. And I kept on harping about shill bidding going on in the zero cool cards when no one was really talking about it. I was being mocked. And something was up regarding that. And it was a complete blackout until I think card porn formally talked about it.
Yeah.
And then people felt comfortable talking about it. But what do you think happens with these shill bids? I think I saw this one title that you did with rolling with FD,
Yeah.
and there's automated shill bidding. Like, what do you mean by automated shill bidding or artificial intelligence? Is that what you said?
So like AI involved
AI.
in it, right? Like people trying to set the floor is just the assumption I was making. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
necessarily like automated type of shield building, but I noticed it, you know, in Star Wars most recently, and it doesn't always happen from, and this is going to trigger people. It's not always as easy as the zero feedback accounts.
The
You
zero
know,
review pumpers, as I call them.
yeah. I mean, with Star Wars, it was easy to identify because it was like such a niche set. You know, it was really weird that only one set was being propped up so high.
Yeah.
And, you know, just throwing out numbers there, but like a feedback of like 32 was pretty much bidding on every single sealed box of top of Chrome Galaxy. Some of them they would win, some of them, you know, it looked like they were setting the floor of what they won previously, and it was just all over the place. Sometimes it'd be relisted, and you got to go through the whole eBay game of like keep checking the relist, keep checking the relist. But if you just look at completed sales, it looks like nothing gets relisted. So you have to keep going through the original. But so yeah, shield bidding has been like identifying it has been like a fun little game for me recently. And you have to look out for it just to if you're gonna buy anything off of eBay. I don't know at card shows, I might just be like weird, but I've never checked online for comps or anything. I think I go in like pretty prepared of like what I'm willing to pay for something. I've
Yeah.
seen some people doing like the online comp game and it doesn't work well with dealers. You know, like I've seen people pull up like analytics type apps, you know,
Right.
card ladder, market movers, and the dealer will just be like, well, I never heard of that before. Or most of the guys, you know, you're dealing with like the Beckett era, where it's like, you know, even if you remember, like, at least when I started collecting, you know, some things that like Beckett magazine would say the price value is at.
Right.
Even as a kid, I was like, I don't 100% agree
Right.
with that. Or like the complete dismay looking at it. And it's like, oh man, this is worthless. But yeah, eBay, shield building, obviously the Don Diego stuff that happened.
Oh yeah.
Like that
That was
was
crazy. Did now
what's weird is
allegedly
like
okay.
100% avoidable too. Like you guys
I
are
don't know
live
you how you
streaming.
accidentally bid on an item.
It's like the equivalent of like when you get an unpaid auction on eBay and someone
Yeah.
tells you like, oops, I accidentally had my phone open and dropped, slipped, and you know.
Yeah, but the thing is that if she just apologized and be like, "Hey, I made a mistake. I'm talking to Heritage Auctions and we're figuring this out," right? If she just said that rather
Yeah.
than calling her critics what a possum bud, I think that was
Yeah.
directed at. The minute that she implied that he may have been an incel, racist, whatever, I'm like, "Oh god. Okay, well, why are you making this statement?"
I mean,
And then
for
people were
me,
defending her. I'm like,
yeah.
"What?
Yeah.
That's
Like
crazy."
for
But
me, like that was the silver lining on a cloud of that whole situation was me like discovering Opossum Bud.
yeah,
Like, okay, and then catching up on all his videos and he calls out everyone with just like, you know, here's how I see it.
exactly.
You know.
Yeah, Rattle Pokemon, even though I'm not into that, and then
Yeah.
Opossum Bud, they do pretty good work
Yeah.
on the Pokemon end. But yeah, yes, more shield bidding stuff. So
Yeah.
Mahomes cards, I remember I bought this Optic Hollow PSA 10. So I always followed the prices, and then I always figured out what February, March of this year,
Yeah.
no one was paying for these cards. And I was thinking, wait a second, there are all these zero review guys. So I determined, I think, I don't know if you agree with me. If all these cards are being shilled, so that means that the price is most likely going to go lower in the future. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Because if no one's buying it now, who are the buyers to prop it up at that price?
You know, I'll say I was a victim of shill bidding on one item I know. So I collect a lot of like sealed boxes. Like that's what's mostly on display behind me. And I
Yeah,
was trying to set out a goal for myself to collect every box of Marvel masterpieces before I actually realized how expensive that would be. So like one of the lower end boxes where normally it goes for like 150, 120. Like somebody like bid me all the way up to like $300. So obviously bad on me for like taking like the, oh, this is what I'm willing to pay for an approach instead of like waiting for the auction to be completely but it was bid up by like zero feedback accounts. So
zero feedback.
yeah,
Why
and
do
now it
you?
consistently sells at like 150, 120. But I'm sure like that sale like really helped someone
Yeah, for sure.
set the comp on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. And do you see anything shilling right now, or you haven't
So
followed that?
what I've been trying to look at is Lorcana Disney,
Oh, okay.
that TCG set that was released at D23 Expo. Because I would assume like, okay, if anything's gonna get shilled, it's gonna be these cards next. And it looks like they're getting paid for. I think they're still way too high, but yeah, they did like a promotional Mickey Mouse card that for everyone out there, it was a free card. You shouldn't be paying for that card.
Right.
It's printed to the moon, and it's just you just had to walk through their booth, and you got it for free. There was no limits. So I
Okay.
have like a little like saved search on eBay, and I keep getting updates every morning where it's like 223 Lorcana cards added. So this thing's only been out, I think, like a couple of weeks, and daily it's through the roof already. But I can't, from like all my approaches I know, it doesn't look like it's shilling, but it's just weird if you look at it in Terapeak. Like it's almost just a flat, straight line at the price of that card, which looks suspicious to me. Like
Right.
nothing like peaks or valleys. But
All
yeah.
right. Let's take a look at a few other comments here. Egyptian Hebrew. Collectibles are going to uncollectible as we head into depression. So when people are very bearish, that's when I want to start to get going again. And hopefully the economy doesn't go into a depression. But if it does, a lot of these cards are going to be cheap. I'm like I said, I'm bidding on some cards. I'm winning for about $10 shipped. CSG nines, right? No one wants
Yeah.
CSG, so I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna go into it. I don't like CSG and what they do in the comics and pressing. Okay, but I still like them in the card grading arena
Mm-hmm.
because they have what Beckett's two top graders. So
Yep.
I like that about them. So it is what it is. I don't know. Like, are you buying cards right now as we've seen the market take a dip
Yep.
all
I
over?
still I still buy. It's mostly just PC items, and like this is where it's like don't take advice from me ever.
Yeah.
But I'm buying Spider Gwen cards, pretty much anything my daughter or son show interest in. He's been really into Mario lately, Super Mario.
Okay. There
So
you
I've
go.
been
Yeah.
picking up like these weird like Japanese type prism cards. And then my wife really likes Mario Kart and Yoshi. So there's
Okay.
some interesting sets out there that they did. But it's so if you're tracking any non-sports in there, stay away from Mario. That's just me.
Yeah.
Like that's not a
You're pumping
that's
that.
not that's not a trend. Eventually my kid's gonna get into sports.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, but the Allen Houston PC, which has just been fun because he's so low end, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No one remembers Allen Houston. That's the thing. There's all
Yeah,
these Bulls players. Like no one remembers what Luke Longley. No one
yeah.
remembers Ron Harper. It's only like Rodman.
Yeah.
It's what, Steve Kerr, Jordan, Pippen,
And
and
there's
a
still
few
like a
other.
lot of TCG sets that I have on my radar that I try to pick up a box when I can, and running out of room here, but
Yeah.
fun stuff. I have the only thing I've kind of backtracked on a lot or slowed down is grading.
Yeah,
And it's
right now grading is not,
yeah, and it's
the best.
just the way that some companies break out the years and like okay, trying to get the right value of the card. I've been burnt a couple of times on where PSA wouldn't grade cards for me.
Yeah,
Like
that happens.
one of them was like an error card that they said was a misprint that Upper Deck doesn't want existing. Like that's the
Right.
excuse they gave me because I reached out to them and opened up a case because I wanted to know like did I buy a fake card? Like why won't you grade it? And they said no, it's real, it's authentic. It's just we're not allowed to grade it.
But but
Cool.
but they won't grade that air card, but you can put chemicals on your card and it's all good.
Apparently.
Everyone says kosher, so I'm going to use the term kosher. It's kosher using chemicals because you have all these people promoting polish.
Yeah.
So now we know the guidelines.
There's also been a Panini Venezuelan sticker of Black Widow
Oh,
that they wouldn't grade. They told me
interesting.
they didn't have enough information on it.
Yeah, PSA wouldn't grade my
Yeah,
Federer card,
yeah,
though it's like out of a French magazine.
yeah,
SGC was the only one that would grade it.
yeah.
So
And
I'm like,
like
okay.
that sticker is like really important to my family because my wife's Venezuelan,
Oh, okay.
and we named our daughter Natasha after Black Widow.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, oh my goodness, like here's a Venezuelan Natasha card,
There you go.
and they
There
won't
you,
grade it. So it's a sticker from like the 80s. So that's where I see like the value in grading it to try and protect it.
yeah.
Because some of those like Panini sticker packs, international from the 80s, like the only way to actually open it is with like a blow dryer. Like that's how stuck they are now. So it's like that's gonna disintegrate if I don't grade it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some other comments. Brendan Ryan, Paul said only 2 more years of inflation. Woo. I don't even know at this point. I mean, I see everything crashing down. Oil's
Yeah.
what, $78 a barrel now?
They're
Futures
throwing
contract?
darts. They're throwing darts at a wall.
Exactly. All right. Steve says, I'm always here for conspiracy, cards, and feminism. Oh, yeah. Our podcast would be interesting. Charles says AIH and I go back, or I go way back. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I think you unsubscribed from one of my channels back in the day, but it's all good. All right, let's see. Tops hasn't learned the lesson of the 1980s when Coke has changed its formula. The people will be heard. Okay. All right, let's take a look at some other comments. This is quite interesting. Last night, Heritage Auction had some surprises. Uh, Comment below what surprises are you talking about?
Yeah, it was like define surprises. Like, is it based off of inflated prices that we've seen?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
surprised that it's
Or
all coming
surprise.
back to normal, or
Yes,
surprises that some went really high.
exactly. Like everything's crashing down. So I'm thinking, okay, there must be deals right now. But
Yeah.
unless we get, as Brandon Ryan says, the Shillions. Here we go. The Shill bidders.
Uh,
Steve says, I'm only buying Star Wars, PMGs, Disney, F1, and Gary V doodle art. Yes, that was the zero cool stuff. Good
yeah.
old stuff.
Did you see the video where I guess one of his sets is supposed to be like a game of war, that card game, War?
No, I
It
did not.
popped up as like recommended for me, and it was weird what they were doing with it.
All I know was it's quite interesting. I don't know if it was my video or maybe it was P. Ryan that tipped him off. But remember how Gary V may have taken the artwork of Karen Ritchie?
Yeah.
So it reached out to Darren Ravel and he had to ask, what's his name? Gary Vee about it, and Gary Vee had to admit that no, it's my own copyright. Very interesting. Take the
He's
work and then get that
very.
copyright if
That's
he
a
took it, by the way.
it's a weird stance to take on that doodle art.
And
I
then
I feel like I would have just said like, yeah, I copied it. That's why it looks like that.
right.
But he was copying the concepts. That's what it was, right?
Or it was
Like,
like the characters. It was
yeah,
like
yeah, okay,
allegedly. Okay, I want to be careful what I'm saying.
yeah,
Allegedly,
yeah,
gratitude the gorilla and
yeah.
determine the dolphin. It may have been a coincidence, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And then the second Darren Ravel story I have is I was actually DMing him about the story, and he didn't want to take some of the talking points I had. He didn't even contact Beckett. That was the
Weird.
most surprising thing about it. Like, hey, is this card going to be, or what's Beckett's stance on it? He just took the side of Kurt's card care and just got his opinion.
There you go.
I don't know. It's interesting. All right, let's look at some comments here. We'll probably wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. What's going to happen with the Celtics this year is, what's his name? Brad Stevens. I wonder if he's going to be the coach.
Come back down.
Yeah, come back down. That's weird. Coach caught doing the hanky panky. Oh, yeah, big time. Steve says, Thou shall not blasphemize against Diego. How dare you? Well, she did say that it was potentially libel. But,
Yeah.
well. J22 reports there's lots of hanky panky going on. Oh, yeah, a lot of hanky panky going on. And he says, oh, I lost the comments. Deflation won't last too long. Economists believe it's the devil. There will be a crash, but the reaction will be unreal. Yeah, they're going to print a lot of money. So that's why I'm saying maybe it's a time to buy card before they pump up the market again.
Yeah. You think round two is coming?
Round two of QE or whatever.
They might have already started prepping for that, right? Like everyone's
They're
talking
prepping
about.
for it.
Everyone's talking about base prisms again.
Yeah, I think it's time to buy some of these Jordan. If I had the money, Jordan, LeBron, all these high flying guys like that. But then no one likes the old school guys like Will Chamberlain and guys before our time, Bill Russell. I mean, they were buying it before his death, but
yeah.
All right. Wonder if Topps will repeat history and dump truckloads of 2022 Topps Chrome baseball in the Hudson River. Maybe of Aaron Judge autograph cards, the year that he hits 61 home runs if he does. I remember I did a poll on my IG and I asked people, is Aaron Judge going to hit 61 home runs? A lot of people said no. So that would be interesting if he did.
Yeah. When did you do the poll?
I did it maybe early August.
All right.
Or like maybe in July.
Yeah.
And then I asked, are the Padres going to go to World Series? No, that was a bad question to ask. What about Fred Flintstone cards? I bought some Fred Flintstone cards during February and March of 2021 for like $10 each, PSA 8s. Now some of the guys would buy for a lot more, even during a downturn. Simpsons cards? What about Simpsons cards? Do you have any Simpson cards?
Yes, I do. I got the first top set in those wax packs. Like the big inserts are stickers, so that's always weird. Then the second series is cool. I gemmed a Millhouse card, so
Okay, nice.
fun PC, hilarious. Thrill House. Obviously, there's some of the rare sketch cards in one of the premium sets. I think Matt Groening did it, but I don't know. I have a couple of sketch cards across Marvel, Star Wars, Ninja Turtles has a set too, which is cool. Like you can get them from Kevin Eastman, some sketches. But Simpsons, I want to get a sealed box, but I can't find anything that's like wrapped or that's everything out there is not wrapped or
BBCE didn't
it's got
authenticate
like
any of those
it's got
boxes.
like Sharpie X's all over it.
There's no BBCE authenticated Simpsons boxes.
Nah, nobody's gonna tell me that looks like good tape. Yes, that is tape that was used.
Can you believe that all this stuff went down this year? I mean, just look at February and March of 2021, and then you have this year, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
You
This
always think
is,
about like what's gonna happen next. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, like people are just doing videos on what are the cards altered? That's like the last talking point. But
I hope it's the last. I
no,
don't
so
know.
this would be something. You know the text message that I sent you of what looked to be like money laundering and
Yeah.
all this doctored cards going through these auction houses. I wonder if that story is just gonna like come out of the woodwork, and that's gonna be like sports card radio is just gonna go like ballistic, and then everyone's gonna be silent, and I'll talk about it, and the card man, and then like everyone's quiet.
That's it.
They don't want to tick off their sponsors.
Collectively done.
Yeah. I mean, I think that story, if it were to blow up, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the last few comments, and then I'll let you go because we
Yeah.
both have to go. Allen Houston, the shooting guard for the Knicks. Yes.
Yes. H2O.
Yeah. Kirk says top 3 pump and dumps: LeBron Chrome, PSA 10, Luca Prism, PSA 10, Top Shot. Yeah, the LeBron market was crazy. What, like
Yeah.
$40,000 to $8,000? Something insane.
Wait, Top Shot is my
Top Shot,
favorite
yeah.
in that list.
Dude, that was the craziest thing because people came after me. That was the first time people came after me. I don't know if you watched that video. It was called "Avoiding Top Shot Like the Plague." I'll maybe send you that video and you can
Yeah.
check out the comments. It was nuts.
For me,
And then
like
you
the
can,
way that they pitch Top Shot, like just wasn't factual. Like you're never gonna own a piece of a YouTube video or an event. Like what?
yeah, and you couldn't withdraw your money right away. I'm like, whoa, what?
And
Okay,
then
so something this seems weird. And
and what
then
about the hilarious like sports card investor version of it? Like people opening packs that lasted like 2 days or something.
it is ESPN. It was ESPN that
Yeah.
had people opening it
Yeah.
up like, "Oh my god, I'm rich." I'm like, "God, this is." And then what's his name? The guy that interviews Aaron Rodgers all the time, McAfee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Pat McAfee.
he's saying like, "Oh man, go to Top Shot." I totally believe it. I'm like, "Were you paid off? Were you paid off? You're not disclosing it." But all right, last few comments before we go.
Yeah.
Buy George Mikan cards. That supply has to be low. Invented the 3-point shot. I don't follow the market. I know he went to DePaul,
Yeah.
and that's about it. And collectors like his card. I mean, yeah, if the market's crashing, maybe take a look at vintage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not less volatile, in my opinion. But last comment here. When you print trillions of dollars more than ever before, everything is whacked. Tough times for economy for most. I'll be picking up tons of it next few years when people lose it all. Are you going to be polishing those cards too, Charles?
His card
Here he has,
polish. He's got.
he has the polish, so he's admitted to it.
Right.
I'm not going to buy from you, though. That's all. But yeah, before people leave, where can people find you?
Yep. I mean, Instagram's the easiest way to get a hold of me. So Pancake _analytics. I got a YouTube channel that I barely post to.
Yeah, you
It's
should do
just,
more YouTube content.
and I just don't have it in me. Like
Oh, okay.
you're doing daily content, and that's amazing. For me, like with analytics, it's hard to do like
Yeah, that
high
is true.
quality stuff. Like I do a forecast now on my website,
Okay.
and I try to keep that monthly update because it's too hard to decision daily. Then I become what I was complaining about. It was like, oh, greatest sale of all time, greatest sale since yesterday. You just allow outliers.
Yeah.
And then for the rare niche people at Comic Cons, you can
Yeah.
see me panel maybe.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
For sure. Yeah. Next time we'll probably have marvelous packs if you're up for it, and just do three of us.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yep, for sure. All right. Thanks for coming again. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on again.
yeah, it's
We'll
great.
talk soon.